led by Robbie Loomis, working on that car now behind the wall.
But this is how you win championships. Come in, work on the car, repair it, go back out there, fix it right now. You're in here working on it. Don't patch it up. Fix it right for going green. Tony Stewart leading.
Now the cars up front did not pit under this caution.
There was actually 10 cars. Tony Stewart, Jimmy Spencer, Jimmie Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Sterling Marlin, Elliott Sadler, Jerry Nadeau, Casey Atwood, Dave Blaney, and Steve Park, who got his lap back several laps ago. Top 10 cars elected to stay out. Different agendas on this pit strategy.
Race has already had more twists and turns than a Tom Clancy novel. But it is Stewart right now who's out in front of Spencer. Remember, they were both involved in the big one at Darlington 1 week ago.
And not too far behind them is that 48 car, Jimmie Johnson, just kind of lurking along behind them. You got Matt Kenseth and the point leader, who is easing his way into the picture as we go. Car 40, Sterling Marlin.
And right behind Marlin, last year's winner, Elliott Sadler.
Quietly working his way up there. That's what he did last year. We didn't talk about him much last year, and all of a sudden, there he was. They have really done a good job with Elliott's car, he and Pat Tyson, of tying that car down and making it drive good for him. He told us the other night on the show, they're now fixing the car the way Elliott Sadler likes it, and that's really paying off. He almost spun out then.
Car was very strong last week at Darlington. He finished second.
Yeah, and he finished second at Daytona. I mean, this team has really come around this year. And he attributes all that to a test they did in Lakeland, Florida. They went down there and spent a couple of days, took Mark Martin with them, learned a lot.
Clear behind him. Clear behind.
Jerry Nadeau goes past to pick up the 6th position.
But I want to look at this 7 car right behind Elliott Sadler. Casey Atwood. He's sitting there running in 8th position. Started in 19th, but he's been fast here all weekend long. They said they just didn't get it going for 2 laps on qualifying. I asked Buddy Ragdoll Barnes the history of this car. He said this is the car that Ray Evernham sent to Jimmy Smith's shop and said, here's your first Dodge, guys. Build the rest of them like this race car. A template car, you might call it.
Oh, we'll give Casey attaboy.
Hey, you better believe it. It's good to see this group having a good run here today. This group, Casey Atwood needs this kind of a run.
Yes, sir. He was just coming into his own, I thought, last year in that 19 car at the end of the year. And then he had to go through this transition. But he's a young kid. He'll overcome all that.
All right, Jeff Gordon returns to the racetrack. He's 18 laps back in 36th position. But cars that are more laps down than him are John Andretti, Hut Strickland, Brett Bodine, and Stacy Compton and Buckshot Jones. Only 2 cars make that 3 in the garage right now. Ryan Newman, Joe Nemechek, Johnny Benson.
But if Gordon and that group had tried to do these repairs under green, they'd have probably lost 50 laps. 16 seconds a lap.
Yeah, and he's really struggling with the car. I mean, he's having a hard time hanging on to her.
Now moving up, we just saw Jerry Nadeau pass Elliott Sadler. That was for 6th place. For more on Nadeau's day, here's Matt.
Well, Mike, it hasn't been the best of days for the Hendrick Motorsports team. Jerry Nadeau climbed up into the top 7, and then on his pit stop, Matt Kenseth came in around the 25. He's pitted right in front of Nadeau. He was at a bad angle, so to get out, he had to back up, and he backed up right into the front of the 25 car. Nadeau left, had to come back in to repair some damage to the left front. He lost a lot of track position, dropped all the way back to 29, and now he has soldiered back up to the front. And really, DW, it should not be a surprise with this race car. Last year at Dover, he started at the back of the field and climbed all the way up to finish second. To Steve.
Well, Matt, his teammate Jimmie Johnson's having a good day. They came in here with 3 straight top 6 finishes. They last pitted on lap 218, or excuse me, last 158. He's complained the car's just a little bit tight. Jimmie Johnson running in the 3rd position.
Some cars pitted, some didn't. Let's take you back in the field and pick up a couple who didn't. Here's Rusty Wallace, who is in 16th place, right behind Kurt Busch. Just back of him, Ricky Rudd, and the man who was leading when we got yellow flag fever again, Jeff Burton. Now, Darrell, if you're stuck back there 16th through 20th spot on the lead lap, I mean, this has got to be a tough race to run right here.
Well, you got 2 problems. One, you need to go forward, and you got to keep looking behind you, because you do not want to get hung up there in traffic with lap cars and cars that are not as fast as you are, and the leader runs you down. And Tony Stewart's leading this race, and he is not cutting anybody any slack right now.
Stewart 9/10 of a second up on Jimmy Spencer. Rookie Jimmie Johnson third, Sterling Marlin and Jerry Nadeau, as we're 15 laps from halfway in Bristol. Who would have thought 20 years ago you could come to a half-mile racetrack and see a crowd bigger than at any football or baseball game? Here we are, Bristol Motor Speedway. Wow. Jimmie Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. for 4th place. Little bump and run.
But you know, the guy that blew by there a few minutes ago was a 25 car. He just drove by that crowd, and he is long gone. He's got a fast hot rod.
There's Jerry Nadeau, the Danbury, Connecticut driver.
He was our fastest car in happy hour, too, you know. So right. he's dialed in.
And not only was he fastest in happy hour, we looked at his long run. He was fast 30 laps into a run.
Let's see who's quick here at the line. Tony Stewart, your leader. Jimmy Spencer. Nadeau a little quicker than Spencer. And Mark Martin. And Bobby Labonte. And Ricky Rudd, second fastest right there.
Well, there's guys that we haven't talked about all day that'll be in the picture about halfway on. Some guys just kind of ride around for about half this race. Stay out of trouble, then try to get going when the traffic thins out a little bit.
Well, we're at halfway next time by. Our Coors halfway recap of the race thus far. Robbie Gordon jumped the start, got himself a black flag. So Jeff Gordon led from the start and led 82 of the first 138 laps. Jimmy Spencer, who led 206 laps here in 1992 driving for Cale Yarborough, then picked up the lead. Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Burton have each had a turn at the front, but we've been plagued with 9 cautions in the first half of this race.
When I had a car here that I was happy with and I liked the way it was running and driving and everything, I never worried about where I wanted to stay on the lead lap until halfway. And then things that you see we're into a long run now, and this is when you want your car to be good.
Here's where Tony Stewart's going to have to really pick himself through lap traffic as he comes up on Bobby Hamilton.
Yeah, because these are good cars. I mean, Hamilton's running good. There's Bill Elliott right in front of him. Jeff Green. Outside pole sitter Robbie Gordon.
Now, they told the lap cars to stay up high. Now, they've got to work past the wounded car of John Andretti before Stewart will have a chance. He's got quite a bit of breathing room now, though, on Jimmy Spencer.
And, Darrell, this is actually, we just crossed the halfway point. This is the longest run these guys have had to see what their car really is. We're looking at Jimmie Johnson right now in the 48th. He's fallen back to 7th position. He's got almost 100 laps on his tires. He was last on pit road at 160. This is when the good Hamlin race cars start to show up.
And this is when you better have the right pit strategy. They haven't had this many green laps in succession since happy hour.
Look at that car behind him. I don't think we've seen him all day long. Bobby Labonte, he started 32nd. He's moved up to 10th. 300th Winston Cup start today. He's never had a top 5 finish at this racetrack. He's never won a short track race, which is a track less than a mile.
You want to know why? Because he's such a courteous driver. He drives so cautiously that he gets himself in trouble by not going on sometime, I believe. And this is no criticism to Bobby. He's a great driver. But you got to keep forcing the issue.
You can be too courteous here.
He's a little too courteous sometimes.
Rookie Jimmie Johnson. There's his speed since the last restart.
There you're seeing 14 laps from lap 226 right there to 240. He's lost almost 4 miles per hour.
And now is when I was going to tell you that I was hollering at you about don't leave me out here on them old tires no more.
And this is when this race sometimes traditionally will have those long green runs. We're in the halfway point. Everybody's figured out, you know, I need to settle down here just a little bit.
All these races where there's a lot of cautions, they have a track, they have a history. If you go back and track cautions, you can almost predict how many there's going to be, when they're going to be to a certain degree, and then if there is going to be a long green run like we got here. I'm telling you, if you look at it year after year, you can see a pattern.
Let's go back to about 19th place. There's leader Tony Stewart, where Dale Jarrett, Ricky Craven, and Terry Labonte are racing. They're all on the lead lap from 19th on back. Mike Skinner, part of that battle. And Dave Blaney, Kyle Petty, and Steve Park.
The problem with this group right here, Tony Stewart is only about 4.5 seconds behind them. So it's another one of those deals. Patient, but you have to go. You know that leader's coming.
Oh, yeah. I hate that.
Look for the leader. There you saw Mike Skinner, and there is Stewart, Dick Berggren.
Tony Stewart has over 100 laps on the tires that are on that car. And just a moment ago, he keyed the radio and he told his crew the tires feel like they are brand new. The strategy from here is the same strategy they started the race with. Before the green flag, crew chief Greg Zipadelli told them, take your time, be patient. By lap 116, he told them, patience won you the race in the fall. It can win you the race now. Stewart leads at Bristol.
Last year, Elliott Sadler did not take tires on his last pit stop, and that made the difference. He won the race on tires that had a lot of laps on them. How will it play out today? Stay tuned.
NASCAR Winston Cup Series presented by UPS is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar. Eating good in the neighborhood. Applebee's. By UPS, official delivery company of NASCAR. We want to race the truck. People love the truck. And by Rocky Mountain Cold Coors Light. Are you ready for a cold one?
25 laps past halfway. Tony Stewart leading Jimmy Spencer and Jerry Nadeau.
Hey, 34,000 horsepower. How about let's crank it up?
How about that?
Hung up in traffic. Tell you nothing that's hurting if they don't get a caution. He's getting passed by a lot of cars.
Mark Martin backing up. A couple of drivers seem to have lost the handle as we're in this long run here.
Yeah, there's just several guys that they need a caution because they're, you know, that off sequence thing that we've talked about a couple of times is going to end up biting them.
Need one, don't want to be one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting up there close to 120 laps on some of these guys' tires right now, and they're really starting to slip sliding around.
And really and truly, for Tony Stewart, he'd probably like to see a caution fall periodically as well, you know, with the injuries he has. But I got to tell you, there were times when I was injured that I drove some of my best races because I did extra things, took extra precautions to be sure that I could make it.
We need to document that Johnny Benson is back on the racetrack after being in the garage for 112 laps, as well as Ryan Newman, 64 laps down. So the only cars that are in the garage right now of the 43 that started, Joe Nemechek and Dick Trickle.
A look from Benson. They put a new deck lid on the back of his car and no sheet metal to surround it. Whoa, there's Newman.
We got trouble.
And
Newman,
Dale Jarrett. Turn 4. And Robbie Gordon again gets the luck of the caution. He and Steve Park, Buckshot Jones, and Jeff Green.
I believe Green just barely made it.
Yep, they'll just get back to the caution ahead of Tony Stewart, the leader. 10th yellow flag of the day, lap 282, turn 4. Newman and Jarrett.
See what happened here.
Going down the backstretch right here. Jeff Burton in the 99 just drove her in there and got into the left rear of Ryan Newman. Dale Jarrett just trying to avoid it, spins the car but gets into Newman.
It's probably mostly cosmetic on the 88 car.
Well, that is the second great piece of luck for Robbie Gordon. A caution keeps him going a lap down as we